Tēnā koutou katoa. Kia ora everybody. Che Wilson here from Che's channel Te Pai Pai Waho. And a new season 3 of Kauhau sessions. And the kaupapa for this round is Wairuatanga. And I'm calling Wairuatanga the seen and the unseen. And while we wait for people to join, I'll open us up with a karakia, and then we'll get into things. Alright, kia karakia tātou. Mai a maranga wakarangona te rangi e tūnei, mai a maranga wakarangona te papa e takotake nei. Mai a rea o katupua nuku, mai a rea o katupua arangi, e ue nei ki te pau o te pai pai wa o e tūnei. Purutia, purutia, purutia te manawa ora, kia tū te manawa ora. Turuturo hiti hoka maua, kia tīna, hui e, taiki e. Taiki kia tātou. Kia ora tātou katoa. As I said, Che Wilson from Che's channel Te Pai Pai Waho. And the kaupapa for tonight is Wairuatanga. And that's going to be the kaupapa over the next little while. And I thought I'd talk about this. I've been mulling over when's the most appropriate time to talk about this in more detail. And I think it's now. So, as I said, Wairuatanga, and I've deliberately titled this Wairuatanga, the seen and the unseen. Simply because there are too many words that are used. That's my boy running around. There are too many words that are used that have extra layers of meaning and or influence, and take Wairuatanga to a place that is sometimes Māori and other times non-Māori, notwithstanding the fact that Wairua isn't actually based on race. Wairua is based on Wairua, but I just wanted to share from a Māori context, as well as the external influences that have crept in over time, that have influenced and or helped to evolve how we see Wairua today. So I suppose I better get into what is Wairua. And so Wairua, at its simplest level, and I've shared this in the past, is ngā wai e rua. And what's ngā wai e rua? The two waters. And so it's those two fluids that join to create a rea, to create the embryo, and from that katupu e te maiti. And so at its purest and at its simplest context, Wairua is that. Wairuatanga is the joining of the two waters of the male and the female that come together to create the rea that grows in the kōpū of the mama. Kia ora maka, hope everything is well over there in Alaska. And so I start there because we often get into a religious definition straight away. And I'm trying to steer away from religion because Wairua is Wairua whether there's a religion or not. And often the religions are too busy trying to control how humans interact with Te ao Wairua rather than ensuring that Wairua is just allowed to be. Hi, I'm all here. Miss you too, my girl. So at its purest sense, Wairua is the two waters. As we develop that, and if you look at this kōrero that I've shared here, for me, Wairua is about both the seen and the unseen, and how the unseen then comes out and manifests itself in our reality, in the reality that we are conscious to. Noting that sometimes we aren't conscious. And as a result of not being conscious, that's when our wairua then gets a bit ta'a or gets a bit wonky. And it's one thing for the wairua to be a bit wonky, but when you then fall, that's when you get into often an unwell space, or a space where it causes people to be alert. And so I want to talk about these things over the next little while. And I've got a list of things. So I want to talk about wairua generally and give an introduction, which is this session. I want to talk about how connection to place, connection to geography, and how that connects, or how your wairua talks to those places. You know, we stand up and say our pepeha and our connection to place. And if you've never been there before and you never knew you were from there, and then you turn up and you get a massive surprise because you've felt something, that's wairua talking to us. That's atua talking to us. And so I want to talk about that. I want to talk about the external influences from other cultures and how some of those cultures have impacted on our wairua negatively, but in the same space, our tupuna had no issue with it at one level because they were confident and comfortable in their own space. And then I want to talk about ghost busting. You know, every family has a spook, and I want us to talk about that because our biggest challenge that we are going through is that we have been sanitized and told not to talk about certain things. And we have to talk because there is so much unwellness because we have been ignoring te ao wairua. As well as ghost busting, I want to talk about healing and the place of healing, both the tinana, physical, the hinengaro, mental and emotional, and the wairua, one spirit. Spirit in a general sense. That unseen space and how you relate to your divinity. So I want to talk about healing. I want to talk about consciousness and how consciousness ensures that we can then connect to the unseen, and how the unseen can help us to grow, how the unseen can help us to better understand revelation and inspiration, and a place for revelation and inspiration in today's world without it being confined to churches. And then how we live with all of this in today's world, how we juggle it all, how we manage these things so that we are well, and also so that those unseen influences don't try to control us. But we can then use what I refer to as a sieve so that discernment can help you live your world as well as channel and be conscious to our tua, the potential that is beyond the veil, which we can draw into ourselves and utilize when we are awake to this. So Kati, that's just a few thoughts. Oh, Jukas. Just a few thoughts. Good to see people connecting in from around the world, Kia ora pare in Western Australia. And I hope people are well. I've been watching different things and what's happening overseas, and wherever you're joining in from, Tuahene there in Alaska, Pare there in Western Australia, WA, and wherever you're joining into. My karakia for us tonight is ora, is wellness. That we are well and that we make the most of what divinity presents before us so that we can then live in our atuatanga and utilise our atuatanga to go well. Yes, that is one of Gabe's prints. I named this print when I was at Gabe's house one night, and so she gave me the first one. Yeah. So it's number 1 of 9. So kāti ake. E mihi ana kia koutou, all of you around the world, around the motu, whether it's Australia, whether it's Sydney, Auckland, wherever you are, Wanganui, tēnei ka mihi atu. This is just an introduction. I'll get into it more, fire through some questions. Kārepa, I'd probably lean more to Māori to respond to your question. But he mihi poto tēnei kia koutou, kia tātou katoa kia rakale. And ask me questions, send some questions, because this is about us having an open conversation about the seen and the unseen so that we can then activate our divinity as we walk in our kiko space, our hinengaro space, and our wairua space. Tēnei ka mihi atu, tēnā koutou, kia wakaere ake ngā kupu ki te tāhuhu nui, orange nui e tūnei, haumi e, hui e, taiki e. Taiki e kia tātou, pai Māori re.